Welcome back to the book versus the movie. On this episode, I'll be talking about It by Stephen King. I'd first like to start by saying this is my second favorite Stephen King book, followed by Under the Dome. And although it's about a killer clown, I think there's a great underlying message in it about friendship and finding happiness. But that's not really what I'm going to be talking about here with this. As you know, probably, there's two movies of this because the book is separated into two parts, part one and part two, and the very first movie, which I watched before I read the book, is what made me want to read the book. I have no complaints. There really isn't any variation from the book to the movie. In part one, I thought that the kids they chose to play all the characters matched perfectly. Everything that happened in the first part happened in the first part of this book, and I thought it was amazingly done. And I would be lying if I said I wasn't worried about what part two would be like, because it's kind of a lot to live up to when you do that well in the first movie. And I was very disappointed in the second part. I'll start with some positives and then I'll get into the negatives. So in the second part of the book, it transitions a lot between the present with them as the adults to going into flashbacks and filling in details of what happened when they were kids. And Stephen King does this amazingly because he'll end on like a hook word of the present time that will be a nice transition word that can be used to start talking about the past time. So I really like that. And in the movie they did this a little bit and they had to CGI the kids' faces because obviously the actors got older. So that part, they did it really well. The ending is so different, and I think a lot of that has to do with maybe the movie budget, because the movie's already long as it is, but there was a lot that happened at the end in the book that didn't happen in the movie. I thought the ritual of Chud was done a little bit poorly because it just seemed corny with their ayahuasca and like the little dream state that he was kind of in. And Bill was high while Mike told him the ritual of Chud. I just thought that scene was done horribly, and it kind of like took away from how good the movie could have been because it was made a little bit corny there with the graphics. But the main thing that I was upset about is that in the book, Tom, Beverly's abusive husband, goes after her in Derry, and Audra is concerned about Bill. This is Bill's wife, and she goes after him in to Derry as well to see if he's okay, because she has no idea what's going on. And this was like a major thing in the book, I thought, at least. And I guess maybe the movie didn't think it was that important, but so Tom wants to kill Beverly, so he goes to Derry, and Pennywise, appears before him and tells him to get Audra and to bring her to the sewer where Eddie, Richie, Mike, Ben, Bill, and Beverly are all going to end this fight with Pennywise once and for all. And so he does eventually bring her there, and she sees Pennywise, in his spider form and the dead lights in his throat, and she's put into a catatonic state, and she's in shock, and so is Tom. And then we also learn that Pennywise, because he's in the spider form, he also has laid other eggs, so they have to go and kill all these eggs down there. So Eddie dies in both the novel and the movie, but it happens slightly different in the book. In the movie, he's stabbed in the chest by Pennywise's spider claw, and then in the book he sprays battery acid out of his inhaler at Pennywise, and Pennywise bites his arm off and he dies from blood loss. But I was really sad when this happened, but also I was like, Eddie finally wasn't being a scared little boy anymore, and he wanted to save his friends and he wanted them to defeat Pennywise, and so he sacrificed himself to do that. And I thought it was a really touching part of the book, but it was also really sad because Eddie's one of my favorite characters, so I was upset to see him. They all run out and they try to take Eddie, but they can't take him, and they take Audra instead, and she's still in this catatonic state. And I just thought that was an important part of the book because Bill still loves her and cares about her, even though obviously he's infatuated with Beverly, and he takes his catatonic wife while a huge storm rushes into Derry, and it's being destroyed because Pennywise is gone, and it all caves in into the sewer, which probably would have cost a lot of money to animate, but the whole town is caving in, and everybody is like losing their memory of Derry now because they defeated the battle. And Bill is riding away on his bike, Silver, that he finds when he goes back, and they show that in the movie, and he buys it at the secondhand store. And he's riding on Silver, and he has his wife on the handlebars, and when they're going on that ride, she wakes up and they share a kiss with each other. And that's kind of like how the movie ends. And of course, Bill's a writer, and he's like writing about friendship in his book and about like everything that he went. My favorite quote from the whole book is, "Not all boats which sail away into darkness never find the sun again." And that to me was like kind of like the message of the book, because they went through this horrible thing together as friends. They came out on top and they found the sun, and they weren't consumed completely by darkness. And I think that we as readers create the meaning ourselves. We determine that ourselves through our own experiences, and that part touched me, just because, you know, in terms of mental illness and like coming out on top, like just because you go into the darkness doesn't mean that you're never going to find the sun again. So I really enjoyed that about this book. I was just disappointed in the second movie because I thought the first one like hit it right, like the nail on the head. They did it perfectly, but they left so much out of the second movie that I thought, I don't know, really mattered, like even like the little details. But the fact that Audra, Bill's wife, didn't go and Tom didn't go, like I just felt like that was weird that it was left out. And while I was watching the movie, I felt like something was missing, but I also understand that it was 2 hours long already, so it would have been a little bit too much if they were to add everything in. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.